Please begin.
Okay. Thank you. So first of all, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to speak in this very nice workshop and for the great job they did to organize all this. And I will come back to, in this talk, to the basis of integrability and to the solution of some variants of the Heisenberg spin chain, and in particular of some variants that are not directly solvable by algebraic Bethe-Ansatz. I will consider, let us start by considering the XXZ spin 1/2 chain. So I wrote the Hamiltonian, but I suppose that everybody here knows it. So just to mention that when the anisotropy parameter delta is equal to 1, we call it XXX. And usually for this model, we consider periodic boundary condition. And we know that it is solvable since the world of Bethe, by Bethe-Ansatz. And some more algebraic solution can be formulated in the framework of the quantum inverse scattering method. So let me just recall you in a few words this solution. So the spin chain is probably one of the most widely studied integrable model, and this is due to the simplicity of its algebraic structure. It has a very simple Yang-Baxter algebra. The study of this model, well, this Yang-Baxter algebra is based on the following R matrix, which is a 4x4 rational or trigonometric solution of the Yang-Baxter equation. So this is a fundamental model. This means that you can build the monodromy matrix as a product of R matrices, and in that case, it is just a 2x2 matrix with operator entries A, B, C, D. So which satisfies this so-called RTT relation, giving the commutation relation of the operator A, B, C, D. So from this relation, it follows that the transfer matrix, which is defined as the trace of the monodromy matrix, these transfer matrices, they commute between themselves. And since they also commute with the Hamiltonian, we can find their common spectrum, their common set of eigenstates by just trying to diagonalizing the transfer matrix in this algebraic framework. So in the case of the spin chain, there is some obvious reference state, which is a state with all spin up. By reference state, I mean some states such that, which is an eigenstate of operator A and operator D separately, and which is annihilated by the action of the operator C here. So this is a reference state, and if you have such a state, then you can construct the space of state of the model by just applying the algebraic Bethe-Ansatz, by just applying the action of this operator B here as a creation operator on this reference state. And this, in particular, will be eigenstate of your transfer matrix when the set of parameter lambda will be solution of the Bethe equation. So this is well known, of course. And as I said, this model has been really widely studied, and now it is possible to compute many interesting physical quantities, and in particular, it is possible to have a quite good access to the correlation function. You can do it either numerically, and in particular, I think Jean-Sébastien recalled some of his work in his Tuesday seminar, and we had a very nice picture about the correlation function of the spin chain, and it matches very well with experiments. And you can also study it analytically, and more recently, we obtain directly from the study of the chain by algebraic Bethe-Ansatz the large distance asymptotic behavior in the chain at the thermodynamic limit of the 2 point and at the multi-point correlation function. So what is interesting is that both approaches, numerical and analytical, are based on the same decomposition of the correlation function in a sum over form factors. So how does it work? You consider some correlation function. For instance, as here a spin-spin correlation function at 0 temperature. So psi g is the ground state. And you insert here between these two operators the sum over a complete set of eigenstates. And this enables you to decompose your correlation function in terms of some simpler quantity, this matrix element here of local operators, which are usually called form factors. And this, it's possible to study these kinds of sum numerically or analytically, and this is due to the fact that we know some very nice representation for these form factors. In fact, a long time ago, in 1999, we had obtained some determinant representation for this kind of matrix elements. And these determinant representations, they were obtained due to two main ingredients. First of all, the fact that we were able to act with the local operators on the Bethe eigenstates, or on the Bethe states more generally, because we were able to reconstruct, to express the local operators in terms of the elements of the generators of the Yang-Baxter algebra. The second very important ingredient is that it exists since '89 some determinant representation for the scalar product of two Bethe states, one of which being an eigenstate of the transfer matrix. And this determinant representation is a famous Lernoff representation that has already been cited several times in this workshop, and which is also related to another determinant representation which was obtained by Izergin earlier for the partition function of the so-called six-vertex model with a special domain wall boundary condition. So now for the X-axis spin chain with a periodic boundary condition, we know to compute a lot of things, and we would like to be able to generalize this kind of computation to other integrable models. And sometimes it happens that we are faced with some limitation of the algebraic Bethe ansatz. First of all, it happens that some models that we are interested in are not directly solvable by Bethe ansatz. In fact, I remind you that to be able to apply algebraic Bethe ansatz, you need to be able to identify some reference states, and there are some interesting models, as we shall see, for which we don't know any such reference states. The second problem is that even if algebraic Bethe ansatz is a priori applicable, then there is always an issue concerning the construction of the Bethe state, which is the set of Bethe states that we obtain in this way complete? And sometimes it happens that, in fact, it is difficult to construct the corresponding set of Bethe states and to be sure or quite sure that it is complete. Finally, even if we are able to do this, it happens that the Bethe states that you have constructed in this way, they have some usually quite complicated combinatorial structure, and if the model is, the more complicated the model is, and the more complicated usually this combinatorial structure is. So the generalization of Slavnov's formula for the scalar product of two Bethe states is usually a very difficult problem. In fact, one does not know any methods which would for sure, any constructive method to compute such a scalar product. So these are really some problems, and we shall see how, in particular, they appear for some natural generalization of the Heisenberg chain that I will consider in this talk. First of all, a very natural generalization is the so-called XYZ model. So this is the spin chain for which the free coupling constant here can be different. So this is related to the famous 8-vertex model, And I will, in particular, to famous works of Baxter. The second generalization I will consider in this seminar is the case of the spin chain, XXZ spin chain, but with more general, the open chain with some general boundary condition, with some general boundary fields on the left or on the right boundaries. And this is also an interesting model from the point of view of physical application, because it is able it can be used to modelize some transport properties. And in particular, it is in relation with the so-called open asymmetric simple exclusion process. So probably this is the link here with out of equilibrium integrable models, the only link that will be in my seminar. And finally, you can consider some other generalization, higher spin or higher ranks, but I will not speak about them in this talk. So let me briefly explain how, and okay, this, I forgot to say, all these models, of course, they are still integrable in the sense of the quantum inverse scattering method, in the sense that we can exhibit a family of commuting transfer matrices in the framework of the quantum inverse scattering method. So let me briefly explain how the solution of this model works, or what are the problems. So let us start with the XYZ spin chain. So it is still associated to some R matrix solution of the Yang-Baxter equation. In that case, the R matrix is the elliptic solution of the Yang-Baxter equation. It has this form. From it, one can still construct some monodromy matrix by a product of such R matrices. This is still a 2x2 matrix with operator entries ABCD, and it still satisfies the RTT relation, so that when you take the trace, you obtain still a commuting family of transfer matrices. Let me just make a remark at this point, is that in fact the R matrix that you have here, it commutes with any tensor product of any polymatrix by itself. So what does it mean? It means that instead of considering this trace, you consider the trace of the monodromy matrix multiplied by such polymatrix, they will still form a one-parameter family of commuting transfer matrices. But in that case, the corresponding Hamiltonian will be the Hamiltonian of the spin chain, but with quasi-periodic boundary condition here, written in this way. So this was just a remark. So a priori, also the quasi-periodic cases are integrable. However, both for periodic or quasi-periodic cases, we have some problems, because in this model there is no simple reference state. And another issue, which is maybe more problematic, is the fact that if you consider the operator B of the monodromy matrix, they do not commute between themselves. And the operator, neither do the operator A or the operator D and the operator C. So this is a problem, because it means that this model is not directly solvable by Bethe-Ansatz, as I just remind you for the XXZ case. And this is due to the fact to the fact that the R matrix here has some non-zero D element here. When you compare to the R matrix of the XXZ spin chain, there was 0 here. Nevertheless, there is a famous paper of Baxter that probably many of you know. In 1973, he managed to solve this model just by mapping it onto another model, which in its turn is solvable by Bethe-Ansatz. So its idea was just that, okay, there is this non-zero element here, so we can try to make some gauge transformation on the matrix to get rid of this element. In fact, you cannot make simple gauge transformation, but you have to kind of make a generalized gauge transformation. And if you do it, so this gauge transformation is called vertex IRF transformation. If you do it, you recover the R matrix, which has 0 here, but the R matrix of another model, a model of two-dimensional statistical physics, which can be used to describe the growth of some surface. Briefly to say it, so you consider a two-dimensional square lattice model, and to each vertex of the lattice you associate some height t here, tj, so that you have this rule. It means that the difference of heights at two adjacent sites can be only given by plus or minus eta. Eta is the crossing parameter of the model, which is related to the parametrization, for instance, of the coupling constant of the XYZ spin chain. And to each local configuration of height around the face, you associate a local Boltzmann weight, which can be considered as the element of the R matrix of the model. So this is the so-called solid-on-solid model, which is a so-called IRF model, IRF meaning interaction around faces. And the R matrix of this model is very similar to the R matrix of the XXZ spin chain, but there is some difference, and the difference is that now the function here, they depend on two parameters, the spectral parameter lambda, but they also depend on a second parameter, t, which corresponds to the value of this height here at this corner, and which takes its value in a discrete set, because you have this rule here, and this parameter t is usually called dynamical parameter. And so the relation between the R matrices of the two models is given by this so-called vertex IRF transformation, this kind of dynamical gauge transformation, where S is a 2x2 matrix, which also depends both on the spectral and dynamical parameters. And pay attention here to the fact that the dynamical parameter gets shifted by some copy of sigma z along the space on which the corresponding matrix does not act. So this generalized gauge transformation can be extended to a relation between the monodromy matrices, and in that way Baxter in 1973 was able to express the eigenstate of the XYZ spin chain in terms of those of the SOS model. The SOS model is solvable by Bethe-Ansatz, and so he managed to find the eigenstate and eigenvalue of the XYZ transfer matrix in this way. However, this works only for when the length of the chain is even. Why this? Because you have a relation between the transfer matrices of the two models for periodic boundary condition. And for when you consider the SOS model with periodic boundary condition, in the case where the number of the length of the lattice is odd, then the space of state for general value of the coupling parameter eta is just zero-dimensional. So you don't have so for sure you cannot build the eigenvector of the XYZ spin chain, and you should the space of state of the XYZ spin chain as dimension 2 at the power n. You cannot build the complete set of eigenvectors from a zero-dimensional space.
So this transformation is not a bijection?
It's not a bijection. And it's not a bijection even in the case of n even, because in that case, the space of state of the SOS model in general is infinite dimensional. So still you have a finite dimensional space of state for XYZ model. And in particular, it means also that the eigenvectors of the XYZ spin chain, they are obtained as a complicated sum in terms of the eigenvector of the SOS model. And it means also that if you want to compute the scalar product, then it's very, very difficult, and it's still an open problem. We don't know how to do it. We really don't know how to generalize Slavnov formula for this kind of model. Because
Is it possible to generalize it for higher rank algebras?
what do you mean, Slavnov formula?
SUM, no, this construction.
Oh, yes, it's possible, but I'm not very familiar with it, but it's possible, yes. Yes, it's Belavin model, yes. Now there are two questions. What about the case, what happened for n odd? Can we construct the eigenstate of the XYZ spin chain? And what about the quasi-periodic cases that I told you were also integrable? So for this, at the moment, we don't know how to do it. Okay, let me now pass to the description of the second kind of model I will speak about in this seminar.
Question about the XYZ, but because I thought there is a way of constructing a reference state. So for the Taklajan or something like this?
Yeah, but it's amount to make this kind of transformation, because you know how to construct the reference state for this model. So of course, this kind of then you can make the vertex IRF transformation back to. But what they did, in fact, Faddeev Takhtajan is the same thing. They just didn't write it. Yeah, yes, it's the same problem. Well, they just write it in a different way, but they do this kind of vertex IRF transformation. Okay, now I am speaking about the open spin chain. So now, again, there is an algebraic framework to deal with this kind of spin chain with open boundary condition, and this is due to Sklianin. This is the framework of, the the representation theory of the so-called reflection algebra. So this algebra is generated by some element of the so-called boundary monodromy matrix. And this boundary monodromy matrix satisfies some equation here, which is called the reflection equation, given by the R matrix of the model. And the most general scalar solution of this equation is known since the work of these two groups of persons. It is given in terms of 3 parameters, if you accept the parameter eta of the model. And so that you can in fact define, you can in fact define from this scalar solution 2 boundary matrices, one for the left boundary, one for the right boundaries. And this boundary monodromy matrix is built, for example, using the boundary matrix K minus and the bulk monodromy matrix. And you define some set of transfer matrices just by taking the trace with the other boundary matrix K plus. And you can show within the framework of this reflection algebra that these transfer matrices, they commute themselves. And if you choose the parameter of your boundary matrices in such a way so as to parameterize your boundary field, you can you recover the Hamiltonian of the open spin chain by taking the derivative of this transfer matrix at some particular value of the spectral parameter. So now, what do we know about the solution of this open spin chain? So in the case where you take, where both boundary matrices are diagonal, which correspond to the case where the boundary fields are along sigma z1 and sigma zn, then you can still identify some reference state. This is the same as for the periodic XXZ spin chain. And some kind of algebraic Bethe ansatz using the framework of the reflection algebra can still be applied, and this was in the paper of Sklianin. And also for the Bethe states that you construct in this way, there exists some generalization of the Slavnov's formula, which is due to Wang. He used also the generalization of Isargin's determinant obtained by Tsuchiya. And you can, building on this, compute the correlation function. However, unfortunately, we don't have, for the moment, any simple formula for as simple formula for the form factor as we had in the periodic chain, and this is mainly due to the fact that for this open chain, we don't have so nice reconstruction formula for the local operators in terms of the element of the boundary monodromy matrix than we had in the periodic case. Nevertheless, we can compute something and some correlation function, obtain some representation. Now, what do we know when the boundary matrices are not diagonal? So it is possible to generalize some of the Bethe-Ansatz equation to some other cases where nevertheless we have some constraints which relates the left boundary field to the right boundary field. So this was obtained by Nepomniachtchi. However, in this case, However, in this case, there are some problems in the computation of the Bethe states, in particular in the algebraic Bethe-Ansatz framework. And despite quite a lot of work on the subject by all these people, it's still problematic, so that we are not able to compute at the moment the scalar product and the correlation function from the Bethe-Ansatz solution in this case. And for most general boundaries, then algebraic Bethe-Ansatz solution is simply missing. So, fortunately, algebraic Bethe-Ansatz is not the only approach that you can apply to solve this kind of models in the framework of the quantum inverse scattering method. And there exists also this approach which is complementary to algebraic Bethe-Ansatz and which applies to cases in particular for which algebraic Bethe-Ansatz does not apply. So this approach is a so-called quantum version of the separation of variables, and once again it is due to Sklianin in the mid-80s. So let me give you briefly an idea about this approach. So let us suppose that the monodromy matrix of the model, which is for instance a 2 by 2 matrix as here, is such that the operator B that you have here is some polynomial of degree of the size of the system. It can be a usual trigonometric or elliptic polynomial depending on the model you consider. And suppose that this operator B is diagonalizable with some simple spectrum. Then you can define a set of commuting operators which are the operator roots of this operator B. And using this operator roots, you can define a basis of the space of states parameterized by some n tuple of variables, each of these variables belonging to some discrete set, and the simplicity of the spectrum amounts to impose that this set do not intersect between themselves. And this state will be such that the action of this operator roots on each of these states parameterized by this n tuple of variables will be given just by the multiplication by the nth coordinate. So by construction, the action of the operator B is diagonal on this basis, and the action of operator A on D is will be quasi-local. In particular, you will show from it's possible to show from the commutation relation of the Yang-Baxter algebra that when you substitute this operator root here into the spectral parameter in action of operator A and operator D on this, the state of this basis, you will end up with some shift here on the nth coordinate. So they are just shift operators somehow.
Why do you use this first condition that lambda I cannot intersect lambda I?
This means that B has a simple spectrum, and this is important to be able to construct really a basis of the space of states.
Do you need to homogeneize?
Yes, exactly. This is what I will tell you in the next slides.
But this operator, you cannot write it somehow explicitly.
you can write it in the case of the, for instance, in the case of the, but depending on the model that you consider, I don't know for any model, but in the case of the spin chain, you can write it. Okay. I have not written it in the slides, but it's possible to do it. What I wanted to say. Okay, so now that you have this basis, what is very nice is that you can write in this basis your spectral problem for the transfer matrix, and you see that a priori you have some multi-dimensional spectral problems. So when you write your eigenstates in this basis, a priori you have some wave function which is a function of the n variable y1 to yn, and you can see that in fact you have separation of variable in the sense that this amounts to solve your wave function can be decoupled in a product of one variable function, each of which being solution to a discrete finite difference equation. So these are functions on this discrete sets here. So these are not functions on the complete on the complex plane, on the whole complex plane. So this can be applied to the spin chain. So in Sklianin works, it was applied to the XXX spin chain, and more recently, Giuliano Nicoli applied it to the XXZ spin chain. Well, so it doesn't work it cannot be applied to the XXZ spin chain with periodic boundary condition, because simply in that case, the operator B do not satisfy the conditions that I wrote here about the fact that it's a polynomial of degree n. It's not true. And of course, it's not, in that case, diagonalizable with simple spectrum. But again, if you turn the monodromy matrix, if you consider some kind of anti-periodic boundary condition that you multiply by some polymatrix sigma x, then the spin chain is still integrable, and the new operator B will satisfy this condition, provided that you introduce some set of inhomogeneity parameters, and this was your question here. And this is inhomogeneity parameters, they are crucial here, because we need the spectrum of B to be simple. So if you have this, then you can diagonalize the new operator B bar, which corresponds to the old operator D of the periodic monodromy matrix. And you can construct this basis, which diagonalize operator B bar, and the roots of B bar will correspond to the inhomogeneity and shifted by inhomogeneity parameter by this parameter of the model eta. And the action of A bar and D bar on this basis, evaluated at this root, will amount to just shift the nth coordinate of the n tuple which label your state, the state of your basis. So here I just label by h by 0 or 1. So it's n tuple 0 or 1. So once you have constructed this basis, you are able to solve the spectral problem for the transfer matrix. And you can show, and it was written already in the paper of Sklianin for the XXX case, and in the paper of Giuliano for XXZ case, that your spectral problem, some function is an eigenvalue of the transfer matrix if and only if it is a certain polynomial or trigonometric polynomial of degree n-1, which satisfies some discrete system of equations. And the corresponding eigenstates, they are written as separate state on this basis, which means that here you have a product of one variable function and not a function of n variable. And this function has to satisfy some finite difference equation. So this is a function on a discrete set. Yeah. So set of inhomogeneity and shifted inhomogeneity parameters. So, and what is nice with this method is that you are sure that you have a complete description of the spectrum and of the eigenstate by construction. It is not, as in the better ansatz, where you never know whether the states that you have constructed, they really generate the whole space of state. Okay, so now that you have this, as you can just notice, it's very easy in that way to compute a scalar product of two eigenstates. In fact, you just noticed the form that they have as separate states. So they are written here on this. Also, I forgot to say here is that you have some Cauchy determinant here in the construction, in Giuliano's construction. But so you have the left eigenstates that are particular case of this states of this form, right eigenstates that are particular cases of state of this form. You just then you have your left and right basis that the vectors are just orthogonal with orthogonality coefficient, which is given by some van der Monde determinant, the same as here. Then you write the scalar product. By orthogonality, you end up only with only the same terms survive here. And by the multilinearity of the determinant, you see that you end up automatically with only one determinant. So, and this is quite, and now, of course, if you know the solution of the quantum inverse problem, which is the case for the XXZ antiperiodic spin chain, that means you can express local operators in terms of the entries of the monodromy matrix, and in particular in terms of the product of transfer matrices, antiperiodic transfer matrices. Then you can act with this on the eigenstates, and you obtain determinant representation for the form factors. And what is very nice from this method is that also it is quite a generic construction. I mean, very similar construction works not for XYZ itself, because you have still this problem that the operator B do not commute between themselves. So of course you cannot find a set of commuting roots for this operator. But it works for the SOS antiperiodic model, very similar construction. So you can construct a basis of eigenstates in this way. And then, in fact, what happens is that you can consider slightly different variants of the anti-periodic SOS model, which are related by the vertex IRF transformation to the different variant of the XYZ spin chain with the different quasi-periodic boundary conditions, with tweets by sigma x, sigma y, sigma z, or in the periodic case with n odd. So exactly the cases that you were not able to solve by better ansatz. They are related to this antiperiodic SOS model that you are able to solve by separation of variables. So this is very nice, and what is even nicer is that in this case, in fact, the space of state of the two models, they have the same dimension, 2 to the power n. And in the quasi-periodic case, in the twisted case, in fact, you can show that really you have a bijection between the eigenstate of the SOS model and the eigenstate of the XYZ, twisted XYZ spin chain. And this was far from being the case in the periodic case. So this is really much simpler than in the periodic case. And in the periodic case with n odd is slightly more complicated, because in that case the spectrum of the XYZ transfer matrix is doubly degenerative. So you need two variants of the vertex IRF transformation, but anyway, it's anyway simpler than in the periodic case with n even. And so, at least in the case where, in the twisted case where you have a bijection, then the scalar product of the corresponding eigenstate, XYZ eigenstate, you get it like this, because the vertex IRF transformation just disappear, and they are equal to the scalar product of the corresponding eigenstate in the SOS model. I remind you that this was a very difficult problem for the periodic chain with n even in the framework of Bethe-Ansatz. Unfortunately, for the form factor, computation of form factor, then you still get a problem because you have to act with local operators and they're still getting dressed in a non-trivial way with the vertex IRF transformation. So unfortunately, the problem is not solved in that case yet. Okay, but anyway, what was very nice is that at least we are able to solve the cases for which Bethe-Ansatz does not apply for XYZ. Let us now turn to what has been done in the open case for XXZ. So then, in that case, Giuliano has shown in 2013 that it was possible to make some similar construction, SOV, to apply SOV in a similar way for the XXZ open spin chain with at least one triangular boundary matrix. As soon as one of the matrices is triangular, then you can apply separation of variable and obtain the complete eigenbasis for the transfer matrix. In the XXX case, of course, this is enough because you have this SU2 symmetry for which you can always make one of the matrices triangular and even diagonal if you want. And in fact, this case was solved earlier already by Fram and collaborators, again by separation of variable. In the most general XXZ case, then of course you don't have SU2 symmetry, but the idea was to use, again, some vertex IRF transformation to be able to diagonalize one of the boundaries. This was done by Faldella, Kitanin, and Nicoli in 2013, and in the same paper they were able to compute some scalar product for this corresponding separate state. So once again, separation of variable a priori works for solving the XYZ spin chain with open boundary condition, the most general one. However, this is not the end of the story, because okay, this method is very nice. You obtain, there are some very nice features, in particular the fact that it gives you a complete set of eigenstates, and the fact that you obtain by construction some determinant representation for the scalar product of these states. However, it's not the end of the story, because all this characterization was obtained in terms of the inhomogeneity parameters. And these inhomogeneity parameters, they are here to make the method work, but they are not physical. When you want to come back to the physical model, you want to take the homogeneous limit. And in the expression, first in the description of the spectrum, and then in the expression that we obtain for the scalar product and form factor, these inhomogeneity parameters, they are still there. And it's a non-trivial problem, it seems a priori non-trivial to take the homogeneous limit. So we have to solve two main problems. The first one is to be able to try to reformulate the characterization of the spectrum in a more convenient way, so as to be able to take the homogeneous limit and to be able maybe to study the thermodynamic limit and other things. The second problem is, once we have done this, we should be able to transform the determinant representation that we have obtained for the scalar product and for the form factor if we have some. So again, in a form in which we can take the homogeneous limit and maybe study the properties of this representation at the thermodynamic limit. So in fact, the first problem, so I just remind you how the spectrum of the, let's say, XZ antiperiodic spin chain was characterized. So an eigenvalue of the transfer matrix was characterized first by its functional form. It was some polynomial of degree n-1, or trigonometric polynomial of degree n-1. And second, by the fact that it was satisfying some discrete system of equations at the shifted inhomogeneity parameters. So this discrete system was just equivalent to the fact that there were existing some function q on this discrete set of value, which was satisfying some finite difference equation. And this finite difference equation, it is very similar to the famous Baxter-TQ equation, but Baxter-TQ equation is a functional equation which is valid on the whole complex plane, and it is equivalent to Bethe equation and so on. Here we have this equation only at inhomogeneity parameters. And I remind you also that the eigenstates are constructed in terms of this function Q. So now the problem is that can we show the equivalence of this discrete equation to a functional equation on the whole complex plane? So in other words, does it exist for each eigenvalue some function Q that we would be able to characterize, which interpolates the discrete value at the inhomogeneity parameters that are solution of this equation, and such that it still satisfied the same equation, but for lambda belonging to the whole complex plane. And if yes, what is the functional form of this Q? If we know it's a general functional form, if it's independent of the eigenvalue tau lambda, then we can translate this TQ equation into a set of Bethe equations that we can solve with usual technique. So first of all, of course, for the XXX case, it's quite simple because it's quite simple to see by polynomial interpolation that, in fact, the separation of variable description of the spectrum is equivalent to description in terms of polynomial solution of this form of this TQ equation. And